we can actually write all of the data that we have gathered. Ito siya. Dito sa arrival number. Ang arrival number kasi it's just the entity number. No? So, let's just write here 1. Okay, later na lang. So, yun. We can actually write all of those things down here, but much better if isa-isaho natin siya. Okay, so let's start with the idea that the system is open. Right? Nag-open na si system. And the system is free. The system is not busy kasi wala siyang pinaprocess. Wala siya gina-serve na entity. So, naabot si entity 1. Ito. With the inter-arrival time of 1 minute at saka service time of 2 minutes. Now, so, nag-arrive na siya, arrive number. Now, the arrival time for entity 1, so base here is 1. So, I'm going to write here 1. Now, pag abot ni entity 1, since dili busy ang system, so, automatically is-serve siya. I-begin ang service niya. So, ibig sabihin, the begin service time of entity 1 is also 1. Kasi pag abot dyan niya, gi-serve na siya. Now, to get the end service time, all you have to do is use the service time given and then ayun. Use the service time given and then count from the begin service time plus 2. So, begin service time is 1 minute. So, 1 minute, count ka og 2 minutes from here. Kasi 2 ang iyang service time. I hope masabtan na ako kung ano. Okay, so, using the service time, let's count from this begin service time hangtod sa ika 2 minutes niya. So, dire ang service time is 1. So, let's add 2. 1, 2. Therefore, pagka 3 minutes, nag-end si entity 1. 1. So, we're going to write here the end service of entity 1 is 3. And then, to get the system time, all you have to do is subtract end service time minus arrival time. So, 3 minus 1, this is 2. Okay. Now, nag-end na si entity 1. So, possible, dili na busy ang system. So, pwede na siya mo receive og new entity. So, butang na to din, isulod na si entity 2. Yan. Now, we all know naman, using this data here, that the arrival time of entity 2 is 5. So, I'm going to write here, 5. Okay. Now, the begin service time of entity 2 is also 5. Why? Kasi, the system is not busy. Pag abot niya, on 5 minutes, automatically, pagka 5 minutes pod, giserve siya. Kaya 5 dira. And to get the end service time, using the service time of entity 2, which is 5, let's count 5 steps or 5 minutes from the begin service time. Begin service time is 5, right? 5 minutes. So, using the data here, 5, let's count 5 minutes from here. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, this is the end service of entity 2. Okay. Now, as you can observe dito sa data natin, during the 5-minute service time of entity 2, ning sulod sa pila si entity 3 atong 7 minutes, nasulod po si entity 4 pagka 8 minutes. So, ibig sabihin, they have to be listed here sa queue natin. So, entity 3, the arrival time is 7 minutes. Entity 4, arrival time is 8 minutes. So, nisulod sila sa pila. And, they can't be served or processed until mahuman si entity 2. Right? So, yun, maghulat sila until mahuman sa entity 2, which is mahuman siya after 9 minutes. So, I'm going to write here, end service of entity 2 is 10. And let's get the system time. To get the system time, again, subtract end service, which is 10, minus the arrival time, which is 5. So, 10 minus 5 is equals to 5. Now, nag-end na si entity 2. So, ibig sabihin, the system now can serve entity 3. Okay. So, here, since entity 3 has to wait for entity 2, ibig sabihin mag-start lang siya if mahuman na si entity 2 after 9 minutes. Therefore, pagka 10, kopya lang nato ni, mag-start na siya dayon. Okay? So, let's get the end service time. Okay, so again, to get the end service time, get the service time here, which is 4, right? 4 ang service time ni entity 3. And then, let's count 4 minutes from the begin service time of entity 3. So, accordingly here, ang begin service time ni entity 3 is 10. So, here, count tayo 4 minutes from here. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Therefore, this is the end of entity 3. So, I'm going to write here 14. Now, to get the system time, subtract natin 14 minus 7. So, this is 7 here. Okay. Now, let's proceed to entity 4. So, kani sa entity 4, naghulat po ni siya kay entity 2 nga mahuman. So, pagkahuman ni entity 2, since ang ningsunod sa entity 3, naghulat na po sa entity 4 kay 3, mahuman. Now, since mahuman si entity 3, pagka 14 minutes, ibig sabihin, mag-start po niya siya pagka 14 minutes. To get the end service time, kunin natin yung service time ni entity 4, which is 1. So, let's count 1 minute from the begin service time of entity 4, which is 14. So, 14 plus 1, count tayo 1 minute, so 15. Pagka 15, nag-end of entity 4. Yan. So, this is 15. Then, to get the system time, subtract lang 15 minus 8. So, this is 7 here. Yan. Okay. Since hindi pa tayo umabot sa 20 minutes, pwede pa natin ma-add sa data ang entity 5, 6, 7, 8. So, let's continue with entity 5. Let's say, nisulod na sa entity 5. So, here sa data natin, yung arrival ni entity 5 is 16. Okay. And, since nag-end naman si entity 4 atong 15 minutes, so ibig sabihin ka ni sa entity 5 makastart agad pagkasulod niya. So, 16 po diya hang begin service. And then, let's get the end service time. So, begin service, count tayo ng ito, entity 5. So, ang iyahang service time ni entity 5 is 3. So, let's count 3 minutes from 16. So, 1, 2, 3. So, 19 ang end of entity 5. So, this is 19. So, to get the system time, subtract lang natin 19 minus 16. This is 3. Okay? Now, wala pa tayo nabot og 20 minutes. Napata sa 19. So, pwede pa nato mabutang si entity 6. So, butang nato diri ni sulod sa pila si entity 6. Okay. Okay. So, here pala, hindi natin namalayan, no? Sulod pala si pila. Between the service of entity 5 from 16 minutes to 19 minutes, pagka 18, ning sulod pala si entity 6 sa pila. Ning Q siya. So, butang nato dire. Ang arrival time ni entity 6 is 18. Okay. Now, from So, here, pag-arrive ni entity 6, which is 18 minutes after nag-open ng system, entity 6 has to wait for entity 5 to end the service, which is 19. So, ibig sabihin, pagka 19, pwede na siya mag-begin service. So, 19 direct. Okay, so let's get the end service time. Again, to get the end service time, allocate the service time of the entity. So, here, 2 ang service time ni entity 6. So, let's count 2 minutes from the begin service of entity 6, which is 19. So, let's count 2 from here. 1, 2. So, 21 ang end of entity 6. 21. So, to get the system time, subtract 21 minus 18. This is 3. Okay. Now, as you can observe, nalapas na taog 20 minutes. Labot na tag 21. Therefore, like what I've said kanina, since we specified, diba, in the model that we are just to calculate the summary statistics based on 20 minutes. So, this means we do not need to worry about the arrival of the remaining entities, which is ang entity 6, entity 7, and 8. Kaya nalapas naman ta. So, therefore, hanggang dito lang tayo kay entity 5. Okay? Now, next step nito, since our event list is now complete, and we can turn our attention to calculating the output measures of performance. So, the easiest measure of performance to calculate is the system time of each entities. So, at time 20 minutes, only 5 different customers have exited the system. So, ito sila 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, we do not need to be concerned about any entities still in the system when we are calculating an observational type of measure such as system time. So, we can calculate the average system time by summing up all of the individual system times and dividing by the number of entities, which is here 5. Thus, the average system time for all of the entities that we processed here through the system was, so let's try to compute, no?